Welcome. This is Measuring AI Productivity, a framework for showing whether AI is actually moving the business end to end. Let's get into it. The question this framework answers is a simple one. How do we know AI is actually making software delivery more productive in a way the business can feel and engineering can defend? That question deserves a real answer, not a marketing pitch. Because you can ship 10 times more code without shipping 10 times more value. The metric you choose decides which world you live in. Most teams start by counting activity because activity is easy to collect from tooling. These four metrics are not wrong, they are partial. They tell you something, just not what the business needs to know. Take lines of code generated. AI tools produce verbose, defensive code. A team can double its lines while shipping the same number of features, and it punishes your best work because refactoring and deletion register as zero or negative productivity. Suggestions accepted goes up by definition once the tool is installed. Acceptance reflects that the developer let the suggestion through, not that the suggestion solved the problem. Pull request throughput. The same body of work can produce very different counts depending on how pull requests are sized. If the count rises but customer visible change does not, the metric is moving without the business moving with it. And time to first commit captures how fast a story starts, not how fast it finishes. A task that starts faster can still sit in code review for 2 weeks and ship a month late. Goodhart's law is the underlying reason all of this happens. Once a metric becomes the target, teams optimize the metric. And the uncomfortable part is that nobody has to intend it. Gaming these numbers is now a side effect of normal tool use. But the trap does not stop at four obvious metrics. Most engineering metrics were built on a quiet assumption that human effort and output move roughly in proportion. AI broke that assumption. Deployment frequency was a signal of engineering maturity. Now it signals tool adoption. One engineer with an agent can ship more pull requests without any of the underlying practices having improved. Lead time for changes collapses dramatically. What used to be the headline number now masks the real bottleneck, which is the time a human spends understanding and verifying code they did not write. Change failure rate still measures whether things broke, but it can no longer tell you why. When AI writes the code and a human approves without fully understanding it, accountability gets fuzzy. The survey frameworks face the same decoupling. Satisfaction rises when boilerplate disappears, but relief is not the same as meaningful work. Efficiency and flow create a convincing imitation of flow, while expertise debt accumulates underneath as engineers lose contact with the system's real constraints. Three metrics survive because they measure what happened as a result of the work, not how much work happened. Time to recover. AI-assisted debugging may modestly improve it, and the metric itself does not change. Business and customer outcomes are the metric AI cannot fake. Did the feature get used? Did the change reduce error rates? Harder to measure, slower to move, and the closest thing to a direct measure of engineering value. And escaped defect rate, the proportion of bugs that reach production having passed your verification layers. As code volume rises and human review gets shallower, this is the clearest signal of whether verification is keeping pace. One more concept worth naming, token maxing, where token consumption itself becomes the metric. Every metric that tracks volume or speed can now be inflated effortlessly by an agent. That points to a deeper shift. There is a useful way to think about every metric you will consider. Three categories, from far away from the business to right next to it. First, activity. Internal motion signals. The team can move them without the customer noticing any change. They are easy to collect because tooling produces them by default, which is precisely why they become the default dashboard. Second, output. Better because output is something the team produces and can be tied to scope. But a shipped feature with no adoption did not move the business. Useful for internal cadence, weaker as a North Star. Third, outcome. What customers actually experience. Time from intent to customer is the cleanest single number to track. Adoption tells you whether the thing you shipped was worth shipping. An honest note before we move on. You cannot fully retire activity metrics because teams need them for day-to-day flow. They just should not be the headline number and not what AI is judged against. So here is the operational stack, read with those caveats. Dora is still the most tracked release flow framework, and teams everywhere already collect these numbers. The honest read is not to throw it out, it is to use it with care. Then layer three more things on top. Customer outcome first, because shipping more bugs faster is not a win. Developer experience, because if your team hates the AI tools you adopted, retention drops and so does productivity. And AI health, because you need a feedback loop on the AI itself. How often does its output need rework? How often does it survive review? How much capacity is it actually freeing? The principle that ties this together. AI productivity is real when the base holds up, customers feel it, and developers want to keep using the tools. If any one of those is missing, the case for AI is incomplete. Across the organization, these numbers need to roll up into a single story. Speed, ease, and quality. The stack is the instrumentation. These three are the headline. Speed. Idea to customer value time is the clearest number to act on. It captures the entire life cycle, from a fresh idea being articulated through to value reaching the customer. Ease. Innovation time is the share of engineer time spent on creative, value-creating work versus operational overhead and run-the-business toil. AI's biggest unlock lives here. Quality. Maintainability, reliability, fewer regressions. Speed and ease without quality just produce technical debt faster. The three have to move together. And a clear principle to close on. Adoption percentages and token consumption are diagnostic. They tell you behavior, not success. Once adoption reaches the level you wanted, demote it to a floor you simply monitor. The three North Stars tell you whether the business is winning. There is one more lens, and it catches most teams off guard. AI cost has not yet hit budget conversations the way cloud cost did a decade ago. The teams that get ahead of it treat it the same way. You tag cloud spend by service, so tag tokens by repository, by project, by workflow. You track cost per workload, so track cost per agent, per module, per pipeline run. Different models have wildly different cost profiles for similar tasks. You alert on anomalies in the bill, so alert on spikes in token usage. And you review committed use plans quarterly, do the same for AI capacity and model swaps, and negotiate with vendors using your real attribution data. The principle that matters: without cost attribution, productivity wins disappear into the bill. Now to the playbook. 5 steps in order. Each one matters, and skipping a step makes the result harder to defend. Step 1. Pick one. One team, one outcome. Resist the urge to measure everything everywhere. The first run is about building the muscle and the data discipline. Step 2. Baseline. This is the step most teams skip and then regret. Measure the chosen outcome for 2 or 3 sprints before you introduce AI anywhere new. Step 3. Introduce. One integration in one phase. Avoid rolling out 5 things at once because the data will not let you attribute movement to any of them. Step 4. Re-measure. Same outcome, same team, after a similar window so the comparison is fair. Allow a sprint or 2 for the team to settle into the change before reading the results. Step 5. Keep, stop, or iterate. Keep what moved the metric with no offsetting damage elsewhere. Lead time down with change failure rate up is not a win. And realistic expectations matter. Most documented case studies show 10 to 30% sustained improvement on a specific metric. Claims of 10 times without a documented baseline are best treated as a hypothesis to validate, not a fact to plan around. Here is a practical way to begin in the next 2 weeks, without a tooling overhaul. 3 layers that complement each other rather than compete. Layer 1, native dashboards. Your coding tools, your Git platform, your pipelines, your observability stack, and your AI gateway. The answer to what do we already have is usually most of it. Layer 2, stitching, and that is where speed lives. The single biggest gap is that those dashboards sit in silos. Pipe them into one view so delivery metrics can be seen end to end. Layer 3, custom, and that is where outcomes live. Build only what no provider can give you. Idea to customer value time always needs custom plumbing because it spans intent, design, build, deploy, and adoption. The principle: native is the base, not the success metric. Most measurement programs that fail do so by mistaking the base for the goal, then never investing in the layers that tell you whether AI is working. Pulling everything together, one number anchors any AI productivity case: time from intent to customer value. It compresses everything else that matters. That is the metric. Everything else is bookkeeping. If AI shortens that interval without harming quality elsewhere, AI is working. If the interval is unchanged, the case for AI deserves another look. End to end, not activity. The whole pipeline matters, not just the start of it. Pull request counts and lines of code tell you what people typed. Lead time tells you what shipped. Outcome, not output. Shipping more features is not the same as shipping more value. Adoption, net promoter score, and business metric movement close the loop. Evidence, not vibes. Baseline before AI, remeasure after, compare honestly. Without that discipline, productivity claims are hard to defend. Thank you for taking the time to walk through this. The recap is short and worth holding on to. Measure outcomes, not activity. Frame at speed, ease, and quality. Treat AI cost the way you treat cloud cost. Three questions to take back to your team. Which single metric will you use to justify AI spend next quarter? Where on the three-layer rollout, native, stitch, or custom, is your team furthest along? And do you have per team token attribution today the way you have for cloud cost? These three questions surface honest gaps, and each gap points the way forward.